So, for today's feature, we will be focusing on the classic 1950s series, Adventures of Superman. And we're gonna start off with the first episode. So, alright, let's go. So, we start off on the planet Krypton in the Temple of Wisdom. Krypton's top scientist, Jor-El, has called a meeting with the governing council to tell them that we're all screwed. Krypton is getting sucked closer to the sun. We got like a month left before the planet gets destroyed. But the governing council is all up in arms. Hogwash, they call it. Pure lunacy. Jor-El is a madman, they say. But no matter, because Jor-El is still determined to save everybody. He's like, yo, check this out, guys. I built a test rocket ship, that can fly us out of here to the planet Earth. Help me build bigger ones, so we can get the whole population out of here. But the governing council laughs him out of the building. Suddenly, like a prophecy, Krypton is indeed starting to tear itself apart. Jor-El and his wife Laura only have mere moments to save their infant son, Kal-El. He's placed into this test rocket ship as the building collapses around him and boom, he's gone, right? And also, I guess sadly, boom, so is Krypton. Meanwhile, on Earth, Eben and Sarah Kent are going for a lovely drive down the country roads when BAM! A fiery rocket lands in front of them. So of course you know what you have to do when you see some unknown rocket burst into flames, right? You run closer to this thing and you stick your face in there. Standard procedure, which is what Eben did. But it's a good thing he did that because he hears a baby crying inside of it. And like a champ, he saves the baby out of the fiery wreck before the rocket ship just completely disintegrates. So Sarah and Eben decide to keep the child and pass him off as their own. Because, nobody will ever notice that Sarah skipped 9 months of pregnancy and, a whole year of raising a child, but, it somehow works. They name him Clark, which is a pretty classic name. And as Clark gets older, he has a talk with his mom, like, why am I different? Which is not the usual talk of, why is my voice changing and why am I getting more hair in other places? No. He's like, why am I stronger and faster than the other kids? And why do I have X-ray vision? What's going on? So Sarah tells him, you're a wizard, Harry. Sorry, wrong saga. You're an alien, Clark. And she regales him the story of when, his dad stuck his head into a fiery rocket all those years ago. And, well, as the years pass now, Clark is a grown man. And after his father sadly died, that's when Clark decides to go off to Metropolis. His mom makes him a fancy costume out of the blankets he was wrapped in when they found him. And Clark has learned how to kind of work his, special powers. So Clark figures to get a job at the Daily Planet that has no job openings at the moment. But, at least if he works there, he can have an ear to the ground so he can kind of know who to save, where, and what, and all that kind of stuff. So he tries to get an interview with the editor, Perry White, but Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen get a fantastic news flash about a blimp at the airport where a man is dangling from the rope below it. The blimp is unable to land on account of all the high winds and all, right? So this guy is doomed. As the news crew speeds to the airport, Clark changes into the costume his mom made him and bam! Flies to the airport to the blimp, saves the man as he lost his grip on a rope and was in free fall. Clark was able to get the exclusive story from the guy, and just like that, he got his story about a flying man wearing a blue and red costume saving the day on the front page of the Daily Planet. And also like that, he got a job at the Daily Planet, so good on him, right? Everything is working out just fine. And with that, that is the end of this series, Super Tale. Man, oh man, what can I say? That was an awesome episode. Quite enjoyed it. So like I've said before, man, I have not always been a really big Superman fan, but when I was really getting into the character one day, I found this DVD of season 1 of Adventures of Superman, and I think it was like $5 or like $10. It was like dirt cheap, and I was like, I can't say no to that, right? And I tell you, Horatio, I did not know it well. Like, I knew of it, right? But I have never seen an episode before that. I've never seen any clips. I've seen some pictures, you know, but like that was really about it. So I had no idea what to expect. And then when I started watching it, I was actually blown away. Like, it's a kid's show from the 1950s, but it's got so much charm and it's just got enough, you know, classic Superman in there that you're just like, wow, man, this is pretty hip. And one thing that is really phenomenal about the show is the cast. Like, whoever was in charge of casting on the show, man, they should have won an Emmy, man. Like, it is like a solid cast. You know, in one way, it is kind of funny that for a Superman show, we only see Superman for like 15 seconds at the very most. But it makes total sense, right? It's all about the building up of Superman's character. And it's told in 3 parts, right? The first part is Krypton, the second part is Smallville, and the third part is Metropolis. And we spend just enough time in each part to kind of really learn more about, you know, Kal-El Clark Kent and how he grew up to become Superman when we finally do see him at the end of the episode, right? But yeah, like, if you haven't seen this series yet, I would suggest checking out an episode or 2. It is actually really phenomenal, even though it's a kid's show. But other than that, I do have some more behind the scene things and stuff like that, so let's go check it out here. Yeah! So this featured episode is showcasing the second person to portray Superman in live action. The first person to do so was Kirk Alyn to wear the tights in 1948 in the theatrical serial called Superman, which was pretty awesome if I do say so myself. So awesome, in fact, that it quickly got a sequel, Atom Man vs. Superman in 1950. Maybe not as good as the first one, but still, I think pretty good. And again, so popular was that they needed to actually make a theatrical movie, which happened in 1951 called Superman and the Mole Men. So yet again, the studio went to Kirk Alyn to have him kind of reprise the role, but he said, "Show me the money." To which the studio turned around and found George Reeves to take over the role of Superman, and he did a pretty fantastic job. So fantastic that in 1952 they have made this TV series and, well, our featured episode. The thing about Superman and the Mole Men movie was that it showed an already established Superman, but they kinda wanted to go back to the beginning of his story, which they did with this featured episode, and the Mole Men movie was cut in half into 2 episodes at the end of season 1 of Adventures of Superman, yeah. So there are many things about this show which is pretty hip. I do like the fact that it is depicting a golden age Superman kind of stories going on. You know, like if you watch a lot of Superman stuff nowadays, you will notice a lot of super differences, you know, from today's Superman to the one depicted in this TV series. Like, let's say, for example, Superman's human parents, Eben and Sarah. Now, if you're cultured, you'll know that his parents are Jonathan and Martha. So like, Eben and Sarah. I've never even heard the name Eben before. That kind of goes back to the inconsistency of Superman's origins in, you know, the original comic books. We learned that some couple found him and then sent him to the orphanage, and that's where he grew up. In Superman #1 in 1939, we learned that the couple who sent him to the orphanage came back to adopt him. They were the Kents. The wife's name was Mary, and we actually never got the husband's name, although some people say it was John. But, you know, they just made a brief cameo, so it's not really that important, I guess, in the comics. In 1949, there was a novel called Adventures of Superman, and this is the first time that his parents were called Eben and Sarah, so that was kind of set as the standard for the Golden Age parents, I guess. The 1948 serial had his parents named as Eben and Martha. Later in the early 50s in the comics, his parents were called John and Mary, so it's pretty confusing. Another thing depicting the Golden Age of Superman is that, unlike from the Silver Age moving forward, Superman is not powered by the yellow sun. That concept came out in 1959, whereas this show is in 1952, right? So it's the old super standard every single Kryptonian was basically a super-powered human, or super-powered Kryptonian, I guess, really, right? They evolved to such a point that they achieved physical perfection. Their physical strength, their hearing, their sight, everything is at the greatest level of what it could possibly be. Also with the fact that Krypton is larger than Earth, so Kryptonians are used to heavier gravity, making them more powerful on Earth. And also, large chunk of stories from the Golden Age of Superman had him battling just regular Joes, right? You know, mob bosses or crooks or whatever of some sort, not really super-powered beings. And that's exactly what happens in this entire series. And for the show, you know, the budget really wasn't all that sky high or anything, so they had to save money where they could. One thing was, for the Kryptonian scenes, they reused a lot of costumes from other serials and other productions from back in the day. For example, we see here a reused Captain Marvel, well, Shazam uniform from the 1941 Captain Marvel serial. And for this guy here, that is a Flash Gordon reused costume from the Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe serial from 1940. You gotta save money where you can, right? And the thing about costumes was that everybody who worked at the Daily Planet all wore the exact same clothes for the entirety of the season, right? That was because when the show was filmed, to save a lot of time and money, they filmed every scene at each location for the whole season all at once. You know, not per episode, but per location. So you wouldn't have people wearing different clothes per different episode, because it could kind of get confusing for the costume department as to who wore what when. So they're like, screw it, let's have them all wear the same clothes. But those are some of the basic things for this first episode, kind of setting the whole tone for the series. And yeah, other than this, that, those, and other things, I guess that's that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.